a lot of people always want to get more insight and more info into some of the mob guys that were around at the time. Can I name some of them and you just tell me either, a brief story about them or a good memory about them?
Damn, John, you coming with the questions today. You do stuff I'll be trying to stay away from. The
Hey, that's what
mob
people want to say. I
Piru.
just give you what they want to hear.
Got you. All right, throw me names. I ain't gonna throw them up so I can. They ever confront me about it, be like, John asked me. I asked the question.
Okay, what about Neckbone?
Neckbone. Okay. Everybody know. I done told y'all me and Neckbone had an altercation where I arrested him before with a pocket full of cocaine in his pocket, and the strongest man I ever met ran into on the streets as a cop. I was on Neckbone choking him, and Neckbone was doing push-ups with me. Like, get off me, nigga. And I'm 230 to 260 then. I don't remember. With police gear on me. Neckbone was that strong, like, throwing me off. Neckbone, quiet, low-key. He hooked up with Rage during that era. He was doing some management, signed some group. I forget the name of the group, a female group that he had that he found. Um, Neckbone was trying. Neckbone was strong, solid, quiet brother. I'll be honest. I still like Neckbone. Got a lot of respect for Neckbone, even though I haven't talked to him in a while. I heard he's on IG and he responded to people on IG, and I respect that about Neckbone. Hell of a basketball player when he was young. Used to have a jumper. He was one of the first ones that had like a Steph Curry jumper from the corner. Or maybe a PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker likes shooting them from the corner. But I remember that about Neckbone. He's about 2-3 years older than me. So that'd make him about 58 age range. Solid brother.
Okay. What about Buntry?
Buntry. Buntry grew up 2 doors down from my grandmother. That's James and Timmy Rue's middle brother. James the oldest, Timmy the baby brother. They have 2 sisters. Quiet, low-key. The type that liked taking them from the shoulder. He was good to be around sugar and nightclubs and stuff like that. He wasn't one that would be about going on missions and stuff like that. But if you witty and some stuff go down, matter of fact, I know you're about to do a good interview with 6'8" coming up. It might be airing around this time or later. Ask 6'8" what type of dude Buntry was. He got a great story about Buntry. And Buntry was the closest to Suge as far as the homeboys. And even me on some things, on street stuff and maybe, what they about to do here and there. We had Suge and I had a different type of relationship, and him and Buntry had a different type of relationship. But him and Buntry I would consider Buntry his closest friend. He was there before I was. I'm not saying he knew Suge before I did, because he didn't. He didn't have the history that me and Suge didn't, because me and Suge went to all the same schools, and so we played football together and stuff like that. But once he came around in when Buntry came around 92, 93, he was there before because I didn't come around till 94, the end of 94. And it wasn't around daily until like 95, sometime in 95. And so, yeah, him and Buntry was cool. Buntry, never had a friend like me type of words. You listen to those lyrics, you think of Buntry.
Okay. What about Heron?
Heron, Goldie, ladies' man, pretty boy. When he came out of the pen, he was big as an ox, but when he came home, nigga got small in my opinion. But you look at pictures of Heron, I remember I used to date a girl. I didn't date her, but I knew her. Her name was Shani. And Shani used to tell me all the time, because she lived over there. Her brother was Devo. He was from Elm Lane. And I caught her slipping up a couple times like, boy, Heron coming home, or Heron home. And I really knew she liked Heron. But Heron was the type of dude that don't leave your girl around. He gonna pull your chick. And women liked him. He had those pretty eyes, that nice voice. Good dude. Heron, good dude. We called him Goldie. Don't know if he's from Looters or the Mob. That'd be debatable. Mob claiming, Looters claiming that the nigga lived in Cedar Block. So, but he wore a mob ring, so you'll notice most of the guys that was from Looters didn't wear mob rings. And he did have a mob ring on, so I'll say Heron was from mob.
Okay. What about Hendog?
Hendog was a very target. He's the guy that drew the Death Row logo. You know, a lot of people have the input. You'll hear my boy Joe Cool and some other people had input on it. I'm sure Suge put some things like put a number on it or put some chains around the foot. You know, a lot of people had input, but he was the creator and he the one that put it to paper. And so that's who get credit for drawing the artwork. You know, for the Death Row logo. He was one that was always at the office and painting and working. Him and Risky worked close together. I'm sure he's the one that was instrumental in getting Risky involved and bringing Risky in. And quiet, low-key guy. He ended up getting killed in the Denver Lanes area at the Jim Dandy's chicken spot by allegedly some Denver Lane guys. And cool dude, quiet, low-key, didn't say much, but he was with it.
Okay. What about Big Rock?
Big Rock, Todd Chisholm. Big Rock got locked. This one's for you, huh? Todd got some bad information out there about me. Todd Chisholm really believes that I'm the reason that he's sitting in prison because of one of his, for him getting arrested a second time with a gun is doing life in prison. It's not true at all. I like Rock Chisholm. I always had respect for Rock Chisholm, Todd, because he was, number one, he was an acrobatic. He used to live down the street from my grandmother, is where he grew up at. And then he moved over into Elm Lane, but he claimed Elm Lane, not Mob. Strong, one of those that could do flips and all of that when we was younger. He's the guy that I always talking about that was the smallest guy in the room and took the fade with Donzelli or bombed on Donzelli from Hollywood when they said, when Suge says Donzelli for doing that, leaking out All Eyes on Me at the stereo shop. You're going to have to take a fade with one of the homies, and Rock was the one that's like, oh, fuck that. I'll take that fade. Rock also is the one that, when I came around and told people and Suge put it out there that, you know, they were planning on kidnapping him and holding him for hostage or extorting for money, he was the one that said, that information you're getting from Reg or Reg Sr., whoever Suge put it on, I heard that too. And so it's true. But you ain't got to worry, homie. Ain't nobody talking about doing anything to you anymore. And so Todd was also the one that my father almost got fired or got in trouble for because they was up at Luthers Park. And my dad was like, man, this going to be heated because the Elm Lane and the mob was heated at each other behind something. Forget what it was behind, don't know. Don't remember. And Reggie took them at the park. They was all at the park about to go at it, had bats and whatever. That's one thing about the Bloods or the Pirus back in that day. They didn't do too much shooting of each other. This is something new, something late that's been going on since the Buntry time, where the looters and the mob started going at each other. Reggie was like, you know what? You two take a fade. Y'all fight, you two. And they all was up there. It was James and Rod, to be honest, Todd, that was going to be the two to fight. Never told who the other person was. But it was James and Todd. Rock and James, or Mob and Rock. I'll say that. And one of the cops that was there, that we got on the radio once they started the fight. And the whole troop started coming and stuff like that. And Reggie was like, hey, wait a minute, hold up. I got this. I'm talking about Reggie Sr. And once the superiors found about it, was this little that used to work park and recreation that called and told Reggie Sr. is the one out here doing that. And so needless to say, upper management wasn't happy about it, but his justification was like, hey, I'd rather for these niggas to fight and it get worked out here than for it to be a war in the streets. And so, but yeah, that's Todd.
Okay, what about Lip Dog?
Lip Dog. Lip Dog, I didn't know much about, had much dealings with Lip Dog when he was younger, because Lip Dog went to jail early. He was like 13, 14 years old when he went to jail. Him and the best basketball player in the mob Ludus Park area. His name was Glenn Christmas. I forget what they called Glenn. I always knew him as Glenn Christmas. I think they got a name for Big Al. Big Al. Best basketball player that would have came out. Would have been in the league. Would have been one of the first ones that made it to the league from our neighborhood. But they got stupid. They killed the gardener. Tried to rob the gardener and kill him. So they went to jail as a young when they were like 13, 14 years old. And went to jail for that. And so when they came home, we had what they called the youth authority. They didn't go to the pen. They went to YA. And so they came home when they was like 22, 23, 24, something like that. And so Lip Dog came around and so he came back around. And Lip Dog must have got in some trouble in like 93, 94, 95, because when I came around, Lip Dog wasn't around. So he went back to jail for something. I think he got caught off in that Denver connection. Anybody know about the Denver, Colorado connection when a bunch of guys from the neighborhood went to the feds? I think, that's what happened with Lip. Yeah. And so Lip went in on that case. And then he came home in like 98 or 99. Gave him a job back working up there at the company when he came home. It was him, Trey, Buntry, and CJ. Those was the four that got hired in like 99, 2000. And I gave them each a region to run on the promotion with the street teams. Their job was just to control those four. They broke down the areas and controlled the street teams, call and make sure they were doing what they were supposed to be doing on the 2000 for gangs. The 2000, Chronic 2000, and the 2 gangs for radio and DVD advertisement and promotion. So that's when Lip Dog came back around. He got fired. He was the one that was stealing CDs from upstairs, him and Shig's assistant Cedric. I caught them stealing CDs and taking it up to the swap meet and selling them. Lip Dog, that's why. Y'all always hear me speak a little negative on Lip Dog. That's the reason why. Number one, I didn't have a major relationship with Lip like I did. I wasn't in the sandbox with Lip like I was with most of the other ones. And because he was just always scandalous. And I know he did some snitching, playing both sides between the dudes to get some of the homies hurt later on. I don't have no respect for Lip Dog. I don't like Lip Dog, to be honest. He probably don't like me and give a fuck. Okay, what you gonna do? But one thing I say about Lip Dog and give him credit for is he's a rider. He ain't no punk. And the one thing that I believe that's him on IG, y'all. A lot of people been hitting me up about that. I believe that's his Instagram page, trying to steal stuff. Little t-shirts and stuff like that he has. So y'all can go check out his IG. Y'all want to buy something? Yeah, I support that. But it's a guy that's trying to, from the UK, he sounds like, trying to start up a What's Up app, y'all telling me? A group chat or something like that. Definitely is not Lip Dog. because the guys from the UK got an English sounding. He's calling people niggas and stuff when you get mad at him. And he sounds like a white man, so you definitely don't appreciate that. But more importantly, I don't think Lil Dog would get down like that. And he's saying that he was out and doing stuff with Tupac. Lil Dog was in custody when Tupac was around us. Lil Dog has never been around Tupac while he was signed to death row. Can't say what he did, doing above the rim time and all that, because I don't know the dates of when they went in custody and stuff like that. But Pac wasn't around any of the homies like that. Maybe Snoop Dogg and them, the industry guys, but not the homies until November of 1995, until he passed away, September 1996. So any of the homies trying to say they were hanging out with Pac prior to then, they lying.
Okay, what about Trayvon?
Trayvon Lane, a guy that takes a lot of things that I say personally. I look at Trayvon like a little cousin. I ain't gonna say a brother, not that close, but like a little cousin. Me and Trayvon grew up 3 to 4 houses down the street from me. Trayvon, one thing I always respect Trayvon for the most, and he don't even know this, we was at Club 662 one night. I have a sister that's about his age that was in there toe up. And dudes was trying to get at her and talk to her and all that. Trayvon came over there and said, "Little Reg, come here, Reg." He said, "Man, your sister, check her out. Niggas over there trying to touch on her, feel on her and stuff like that. You need to see about your sister." And most things was just took advantage of this. Trayvon was like, pulled my coattail to go and look out for my sister. I think he ended up helping me getting her out and getting her in the car with a friend, and they took her back to her hotel room. So that's one story with Trayvon. I mean, that's why I always had respect for Trayvon. I was one of the ones Trayvon forget. As soon as he came home, we used to have a thing where you take him shopping. Bought that nigga some Air Jordans and stuff like that. Forget about that, but that's cool. That's nothing. Everybody did that for each other. Trayvon is not a buster. Trayvon got some rider in him. So don't let the little taps and all of that or little innuendos that I say about Trayvon take it away like Trayvon was scary or anything like that, because I call him youngster or the smallest one around and all that. Because by no means do I be meaning that when I say that about Trey. Trey get a bad rap from a lot of people, and he pulled my coattail and told me, "Reg, you one of the ones that started this and pushing that narrative as well." When I used to say way at the beginning that Trey whispered in Pac's ear. We all thought that. We all heard that from Frank lying ass. And that's when he said, "Reg, I didn't whisper in his ear. I went over there and started talking to my big homies and telling my big homies who that was." And Pac took off. I honestly believe that, because Trey wouldn't have went whispering nothing like that to Pac with his big homies standing around, which we know were in earshot and close. Nobody would have did that. Everybody would have been talking. But that was Pac showing his loyalty to them, and did that. And so I wish Trayvon, that's the only reason, and Trey's smart. He know the only reason I throw little jabs at him, because I'm trying to get him to talk. But Trey is, he's a different dude. He's not for this. He's one of those old school dudes, I guess. That's not for all of this cameras and stuff like that, and YouTube. And I mean, Trayvon had $30,000, $50,000 offered to him to do stories and to do shows. I know. That show that I was on with Stephanie Fredericks and Ben Crump, they were gonna play his music in the movie and give him, I think they stopped at 30, He told him 50 because he thought that was a crazy number, just to get him from leave him alone. And so we can't say Trayvon's here about money or anything, because he could have definitely did that. Who wouldn't have done that? Think about it. Who wouldn't have? Even if it would have just helped launch his music career. That's how I was pushing it. Trey, man, these people willing to put this in. And he was like, no, Reg, I don't want to do it. And so Trey gets a bad rap with us out there for those that believe it. But Trey loved Pac. Trey got Pac tatted on him. There's little things that Trey did that we all have done that we would be like, nigga, but Trey was there. Trey's a writer. Trey's Trey. He didn't grow up with us. Most of us didn't know him in the growing up. I knew him because I used to go swim down at his grandpa's swimming pool, which was one of the only. There was 2 swimming pools on our street, other than Luther's Park, and then there was 2 on our street that I know of that had swimming pools, and that's why I laughed when Keepy D talked about he was over Shug's house swimming at a swimming pool. Shug ain't had no swimming pool at this house growing up, so. But people just say shit. But yeah, that's Trey solid. Trey just, I'm just disappointed because as close as we all were, if I call and ask Trey to do anything, I feel he should have did it by now. And vice versa, if I was in a position to help him with anything, I should do it for him. And so that's the only reason I ever come off a little bitter with Trey. But Trey and I got a lot of good history together, and Trey was there from the time he got out of custody, sometime in early '96, until the end. So yeah, that's Trey.
Okay. What about Bob Gotti?
Bob Gotti, that's my nigga. Still to this day, that's my son, godfather. Bob Gotti's a good dude. Bob Gotti's flashy and all of that. Bob Gotti used to catch the rap for wasn't a nigga that would fight you or squab and all of that. Bob Gotti was quick with those, we call them flashlights. He would pull a flashlight on you in a second. Always had a flashlight around. He don't do it anymore because he almost got in trouble. But back then, he always had a flashlight on him. And flashy, good dude. Yeah. Gotti to this day can call me, and I'll move, do whatever I can. Bob Gotti come live with me if he ever became homeless. That's how I look at Bob Gotti. That's my nigga. No matter what. But he was around. He went in and out. There's stories that I won't speak on that he got some things with. I'm gonna get him one day to tell that Nino Cappuccino story correctly, because he putting a 10 on stuff, on how that stuff went down. But anyway, I won't let Bob tell it because I wasn't there, but Gotti was right there, and he know the real. And he gets sick every time he hear Nino tell that story, because he know how that story really went down.
Okay. What about, can you speak on George?
Oh my God. George told me to keep his name. He sent word to Cynthia Nunn and tell me to keep his name out of his mouth. Other than what I have already said, y'all know what I said about what George did. George treated me with the utmost respect out of any of them, to be honest, when I first came around Death Row. George, I remember Danny Boy and this girl named Woosie was laughing, talking here, calling me the police and the popo and all that. We was in New Orleans. And George pulled Danny Boy and Nigga, because they were young. They were like the 16, 17-year-olds around. So, oh no, we don't talk to Reggie. We don't talk about Reggie like that. We don't play with Reggie. And so, yeah, that was George. I'll tell y'all a story about George. even though George don't like me speaking on him. But number one, Info Minds is wrong, y'all. Y'all stop calling that man Monkey Man, because that's not the name. I done said it on several times, but Info Mind, where they got that moniker from, I don't know. But I never heard anyone until I heard Info Mind refer to him as Monkey Man. George moniker is G, or Ponytail. And I don't even know if that was just us around Death Row calling him that. And so, but back in like 97, 1997, I think. That was the last time I saw George in person. He was riding down Compton Boulevard, and I was riding down Compton Boulevard. And I had a Chevy Tahoe that had one-stop plates on it. And he saw the one-stop plates on it. And he thought and that's when he was mad at guys that was working at Death Row because of something that had happened. And he followed me, and I kind of saw it because I knew his green Cadillac with a black top. I knew that car. And I was like, oh, that's that nigga G, because I always was like, shit, that nigga, because he's with it. You tell anybody in your neighborhood, because everybody got that G from their neighborhood, do George 5 times more worse than they do. Trust me. And G, so I said, oh, Lord. And he chased me and followed me. Well, I thought I was getting away, but he pulled up on me. I ran into a dead end down the alley. And he pulled up, but by that time I was like, oh, well, it's about to go down. I jumped out of my car, and he jumped out. He was like, oh, little Rich, I didn't know that was you. Jumped in his car and drove back down the alley. That was the last time I saw George in person. Had some other dealings later on over the phone, because him and Bob Gotti are cool. But yeah, that's the story about George. Yeah, I might not knew Reggie Wright or George if things would have went south, if he didn't have the respect for me, like I said, to back down. And yeah, I remember that day very well.